Alright guys, today I'm going to do something a little interesting, I suppose. I'm going to make a tutorial on how to make a secret bookshelf door. And I'm going to make it's pretty much a 2-in-1 because I'm going to use a lever to activate the event. So it's going to be a tutorial on using levers and how to activate events using the up or down state. And then there's also going to be the bookshelf rotating. Yeah, I just chose to put them together because they somewhat relate, I suppose, but of course there are two independent things. But before I start with the tutorial, I'm just going to show a quick preview of how the result is going to be so that you can see if this is what you're looking for. And if so, then you can watch for the tutorial later on. Alright, enjoy. Alright, so before we start, if you are using a Windows computer, then you do not need to worry because the tutorial works just the same even though it's done on a Mac. And also, if you are missing any of these basic files for a custom story, you may download them in my description just to make things a little easier. And lastly, I am going to be using scripting a little later. I just have these two files. So all the scripting that I do is also linked in the description in a pastebin link, so that you can just copy it from there if you want to make things a little easier as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess we just jump into it and open the map and add a few things there, and then we're going to script it up later. Alright, so just open up your level editor, and I'm just going to open that map that I have right here, level 3. And this is what you just saw in the example. So I'm just going to delete a few things and put them back, but as you can see, it's not very advanced, but it still gives a very cool result. So I'm just going to delete all these things. Alright, so here we have pretty much an empty map and a spawn point, a light just to make it show, because apparently in my recordings the rooms are really dark, so I just decided to put a really bright light in here. Anyway, so first thing we want to add in the map is of course the bookshelf that is going to rotate. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter what order, but okay. So you go to gameplay and you go down to shelf, and here there are a couple of them, and the difference is, let's see, the interact one. This one you can grab and drag in a rotate way, like, anyway, you can rotate it manually by grabbing it with your mouse. Similar to the joint, this one you can grab but it falls down, but we're not going to use neither of these. You can use the secret shelf door. This one, these look they're all the same, except the interact one is a little different, but these three look the same. They just act a little different. So this one, you can make this move but only in the X direction, so only along the red line, the red axis. So you can only make it move along that axis in code. So but if you want to make the bookshelf rotate, then you're gonna want to use the _rot. I thought it was like a rotting bookcase first, but yeah, it's a rotating bookcase. And to understand how it rotates is not that tricky actually. Okay, so go to the area tab and place a script area down and select it and just place it somewhere, and this area is what the bookshelf rotates around. So that point in the middle, that is going to be the joint hinge, whatever you may say, that the bookshelf is rotating around. So if it was just like here, this bookshelf would be rotating around this area in that way. But we don't want that, of course. It would look really strange. You want to put it where the normal hinges of the shelf would normally be, I suppose. So it doesn't need to be that big, but normally you want to make it just tall, just to make it look like it's like a hinge or whatever. So I'm just going to place it around this area in the back corner of the whole bookshelf, you can experiment around with this and place it differently, and you will see results immediately just reloading the map. And you can mess around and have fun. It can give kind of funny results, but if you want something really realistic, you want to place it around this general area. And then we give the area a name on the side here. I'm going to call it rotate area. That's what it was called in the actual game, so I'm just going to call it that. It doesn't actually matter too much. You're just going to type it once and then type it one more time. So you click on the shelf. Make sure if this is the correct entity of the shelf, then it will show the options on the entity page all the way to the bottom. The angular offset area. When mode is angular, yeah, well, you can read that. Okay, so basically you put the area name in here that you want it to rotate around. So I'm going to put rotate area and press enter. And now these two area and entities are connected. And also I recommend giving this shelf a name because it is very long, the default one, so I'm just going to call it shelf. Oh, shelf, no, shelf. Why did I just like that? I can't talk today. Alright, so that is actually all for the rotating shelf, except for the scripting that we're going to do. But we're going to make that happen with a lever, or lever. So you go back to entity, and it should be in gameplay as well. You go to, let's see where it is, lever here. I'm going to take a nice lever. You just select whatever lever you want and place it in your map, and I'm going to rotate it and place it up on the wall like that. Okay, so you just have your lever somewhere in your map, and it doesn't actually need to have a name because we don't need to script with the lever whatsoever. If you just go to the entity tab, and there should be a change, like connection state change callback. That pretty much what that does is that it's a check whenever the lever state, meaning up, down, or neutral, whenever that changes, this event is going to be called. So I'm going to call it move shelf and press enter, and that will then happen. That will then move the shelf when the scripting is set up to do so. And that is all we need to do with this lever, and all we need to do in the map. So there's only 3 things you really need to do: bookshelf, area, and lever. And now I'm gonna save the map here, and let's jump over to scripting. Alright, so we are back here, still have the map. Just open up the HPS scripting file. Mine is currently empty, but you could actually just delete the onStart as well, because, well, you probably want to use it in your actual level, but it's not necessary for this specific event. So, but one thing I want to show before that, open up your browser and go on this page that I have linked in the description. This is the engine scripts, and set move. Actually, we're going to, let's see, change connection. Set entity connection state. Okay, yeah, this one. Set entity connection state change callback. I'm just going to explain to you that what we did on the lever right here, this is the same as this function. So instead of using it on this in the editor, you could put this on start, but it's a little easier if you just do it directly in the editor. But what you do want to get from this function here is the actual syntax, so that you can just copy it and paste it into your code. And you just copy this line that is the syntax of the function that you used, in this case the shortcut here. So you just paste that in anywhere in your code. Just make sure it's not inside a current block, and replace function with the one that you put in the editor, move shelf in my case. Put whatever you put there, and make sure this is the important thing. So just make sure that this is exactly as it should be. depending on what event it is or function. So if it's a different function, it has different parameters, but in this case these are the parameters for lever changing. So after that you put opening and closing squiggly brackets to make the block, and inside that block this is where the actual shelf is moved. So to start off with though, we want to put an if statement. Type if, and what we want here, we want the code to ask if the lever is down, then move the shelf. So the way we do this is that you do opening and closing parentheses after if, and you type al state. Pretty much this references or refers to what is here. So this is a way to ask what state the lever is in. So if the state equals, make sure it's two equal signs because it's comparing. If it's equal to 1, you could put a different number, but 1 means down, -1 means up, and 0 means neutral, or just in between. It also says here, al state, -1 is off, 0 is between, 1 is on. So if it's on, if it's 1, then you want to put another code block, and I'm just gonna type it like this, and we have a code block within a code block, and inside that code block, this is where the shelf is actually moved. But it's still within the first code block, but of course code blockception, you know. And if you understand that, this is a very useful thing if you want to make interesting events in your maps. Anyways, so that's actually all for the lever part of this tutorial, because it's not much more to it unless you want to make some really advanced lever puzzles. I might make another tutorial on that specifically later, but that's the principle of it, the basics. So inside here we want to move the shelf. So what I actually had open here earlier, set move, this function called set move object state, you want to copy that and put it inside that block. And string of the name, this is the name of the entity that you want to move. So you put double quotes and write shelf inside, or whatever the name of your shelf is. Just make sure it matches the name of the actual movable shelf that you have, the ROT version. And after that, this is the actual state of the how much it rotates. So if you put this to 1, I believe you can put 1.0f, since it's a float value. You usually want to put f at the end, but I still think it's works the exact same if you don't do it, so just put 1. Makes it a little simpler, I suppose. But pretty much what 1 is well, okay, so you can just look here, state of the object, 0, closed, 1, open, and values between and above are valid too. So you can put pretty much anything in here. I don't know if it actually does anything different if you put it above 1, because it didn't do anything more when I put it to 4. So I'm guessing for rotation 1 is max. I'm not exactly sure about that. You could try around if you would like, but I'm gonna put it to 1, and pretty much what 1 will make it do is that it rotates a quarter. Pretty much it rotates as you saw in the preview, it rotates around like that, so it will be facing the red arrow. And also I guess I could note, just a little random time to do so, but I guess I could note that if this area is not connected to this thing and it's rotated without an area, it will rotate along the middle of the object, along the green arrow. So it would look kind of strange rotating like that, but I don't know. Okay, so that rotates the shelf, and actually that's it for the rotation as well. But there are a few things that you also want to do to make it a nicer event and to fix a little problem that this will cause if you do it just like this. But we're going to just start it up and see how it looks, and you can see how it is so far. Alright, so here we have opened the level, and as you can see, here's the shelf. It's kind of hard to see that there's a secret behind it. Anyway, shelf looks like just any other shelf, but this lever is here. It doesn't do anything when you put it up, because I haven't set it to do anything there. But if you take it down, it makes the shelf rotate, as you saw just there, and you can access whatever secret you have behind it. And it rotated around the area that is placed right here. And also, it also comes with a sound effect when it rotates, so you don't need to worry about that, which is really cool. This engine is truly made well, I think. Anyways, it comes with a sound, so you don't need to add the sound effect for it. But if you go back to the lever now, well, I guess it actually is not noticeable right now, but the event happens again. So if you take it down, it will rotate again, but since it's already in this state, it doesn't actually move. But later on, when we add the sound effects and stuff like that, you will notice that it reoccurs, that the event reoccurs. So we're gonna have to stop that as well, but that's one of the last things to do. It's just a little bug fix that, or it has several solutions, but that's one of the ways that I'm gonna show near the end of the tutorial. But anyways, so now you actually have everything you need, the necessary things, but I'm gonna add a few more things to make it a little nicer. Okay, so now to finish off this event and make it a little nicer, this is of course optional, but I'm gonna play sound at entity, this event, play sound at entity, like that, and I'm gonna add it just below the move state. So I'm gonna replace the sound name with double quotes, because it doesn't need a name actually, unless you're gonna do anything more with it, but in this case I'm not, so I'm just gonna put anything there. The sound file that I want to play is quest_completed.snt, and this is just a little jingle. It's like ding ding, a little small jingle that plays just to make it show that you actually achieved something. And the entity we want to play it on is the shelf, so shelf, and the fade time 0, it's not going to fade in, and the save sound I'm going to put to false, and what that means is that it doesn't remember its state if it's reoccurring, but it only happens once, so just put it to false. And that is the play sound at entity. But we're also going to play a soundtrack, or a soundtrack, a little theme thingy, that it's a solved puzzle. So let's search up play music right here. Play music. It's also a kind of long line, but just paste it in right there. Play music, string music file. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was 01 underscore something. I'll find out. The loop, it's not gonna loop. It's only gonna play until it's done, and then it's gonna play the background music again that you have in your level, if you have one, but you probably do want to have one or already have one. And volume 1.2, so it's a little louder than the background music. And the fade time, you could put it to I don't know, 0.7 or something. The priority though, it needs to be higher than the background music, so just put it to something like 10 or something. And resume. It's like if you stop it and then replay it, it'll resume. It's similar to the previous event or function. Play sound an entity. If it stopped and then resumed, it will play from where it was stopped, and if you put it to false, it will restart. But you shouldn't need to worry about any of those things, so just put it to false, and then I'll just find this little thingy here. Okay, so the sound file is 01 underscore puzzle underscore passage with only two s's, passage.ogg, and that's the sound file that we want to play. Actually, I'm going to remove this fade time, so it's just 0. It just plays instantly because it's already fading in the actual file. So anyway, that's it. There's only, okay, I mean of course that's not it, but there are only small details to add to end it with, and return semicolon, and that means once it's reached this line, just stop doing whatever is after this. And yeah, you can save that and run it, and I'm gonna do that, but then I'm gonna show you that little bug fix that I'm gonna you just fix real quick after this. But okay, alright, once again in the level everything is just like before, but now that we pull the lever, it plays the music track, which is a very nice one, I must say. Yeah, it just plays this little music track, which is really fitting for this specific event. And yeah, that's it. But now I can also show you that if you go back to the lever, oops, there goes the music again. Nothing happens but the music. So a small check is to add to that so that it won't do that. Alright, so to add that little check, it's really simple once you know what this function does, but pretty much just put it before return. And let's see, I'll just put some space in between, and I just write this down. There is a function you can look up on the page, but I just write it down because I remember it. Set local var int, open close parentheses, semicolon, and inside here you write double quotes. This is the name of the this is just a variable. It's a general variable, can be used for so many things. It's pretty much infinite. There is no limit what you can use this for, but of course one of the things you can use is to just add a small check. So I'm just gonna call it check, and that's the name of the variable. So that's just the name so that it can refer to it other places, and I'm gonna set it to 1. Pretty much what that does is that when it gets to this point, it sets an invisible variable in the game to 1. But before the actual state, before it does this, I'm going to add another if statement. If, parentheses again, get local var int, make sure capitals and all that stuff, get local var int, check. Oh, quotes actually around that. And okay, so it's once you put the lever down, it's looking through the code where this variable is and what value it has, and then it will return that value. And if that value is equal to 0, which it is by default, then it will do this event. But the next time you put the lever down, it's going to do the same check, but at that time the variable is no longer 0, so it will not happen again. So just be sure to put an opening block there and an ending block at the end. And to make it look, if you want to make it look a little better, you usually push everything just up like this. Where did my cursor go again? Just push everything up like this. This is usually just how it looks, how you want it to look. I don't know. Depends on what you want it to do, but like that. Okay. It doesn't matter actually, but it's just a little more organized. I like to keep it that way. And this is everything. Okay, now we're done. And we're gonna do a last playthrough, but you probably already know what to expect, so yes. Alright, last time in level, and shelf, lever. Same thing happens. But this time it does not repeat, which is good. So that is all for this tutorial, and I shall thank you for watching. And if you liked it, if it helped you, then I really appreciate if you liked the video. It motivates me to make more of these tutorials. Anyways, that's it, and nothing. And that's it. So yeah, I'll see you later then. Bye.